This is the Bat Pod.
Welcome to the Bat Pod, a Batman comic book discussion podcast. On today's show, we're going to be discussing Absolute Batman number 18 and Detective Comics 1107.
Grab your bat microphone, it's time to start the show. Like a quart of owls, the mystery is starting to grow. Let there be no debate, it's about to begin. Keen like Bruce Wayne, quick like Tim Drake, fierce like Damien. Grab your headphones, listen up, you know you love it. Drop the facade. Like the Dark Knight Detective, they've got some perspective. They're a pure crime-fighting collective. It's the Bat Pod.
Welcome to this edition of Gotham Currents. My name is Bill Bere, and joining me tonight, Ted Kilvington.
Hello, Bill. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're back for our second episode of Gotham Currents. As I said previously, Gotham Currents is now split into two episodes, one with me and David doing Batman, and then Ted and I doing Absolute Batman and Detective Comics.
I think the last time I did two consecutive episodes on a podcast was before COVID.
Oh, so it's been a little while.
Yeah, I did. I had a video show, and of course I've done several guest spots. Actually, two consecutive episodes on the same podcast. Yeah, it's been years. So thank you for your leap of faith in bringing me on the team.
Absolutely. And I did check you out. I went on and watched your video podcast. There was a crossover. Maybe it was the MASHcast. Were you on the MASHcast?
Yep, I did an episode of MASHcast.
Had to check you out first, of course.
Oddly enough, although I've appeared on twice on the Fire and Water Network, one was for MASH and one was to discuss Citizen Kane. So I follow the network for comic books, yet I've never actually been on there to talk about comic books.
But no, they have all kinds of episodes, content, comic books, movies, or anything you want is on there.
Oh, yeah, it's a full service network.
If you'd like to join the conversation or emails, the podcast at thebatpod.com. We are on Blue Sky, X, and Facebook. Just search #TheBatPod. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please consider giving us a review. We really appreciate it, and we'll read it right here on the podcast. So let's go ahead, and we're going to head to the books.
The Bat Pod is a spoiler podcast. Please read the comics we're reviewing so you can enjoy the show.
Our first book tonight is Absolute Batman number 18. Your writer is Scott Snyder. Artist, Eric Cayante.
I believe it's Canetti.
Canete?
I went to YouTube and found a video where he pronounced it for the host of some show. I forget which one, but he pronounced it Canetti.
Canetti. So your artist, Eric Canetti. Actually, he's going to be not far from me here in a few weeks doing a signing for these Absolute Batman. It might be this issue.
Nice.
It might be this issue.
Nice. He's certainly been doing some good work. So, it'd be great to interact with him and give him some props for all the great work he's doing on this book.
Absolutely. So our colorist is Frank Martin, letterer Clayton Cowles, cover Nick Dragata, and editor Katie Kubert. And we get a cover here. It's a very busy cover. You got Absolute Batman kind of a pinkish to an orange hue. And we got Batman with chainsaws, circular saw.
Yep.
And we got the Court of Owls, which you can see the Court of Owls in color there. Previous issue was only in shadow. And then we have Barbara Gordon. What did you think of this cover?
Yeah, it was a pretty good collage. We've seen a lot of covers that were kind of a symbolic scene, not exactly one literal scene transposed onto the cover, but this one was more of a collage because, at no point in the comic do Batman or Poison Ivy or Officer Gordon interact with the Talons. They're on literally opposite sides of the continent, so it's kind of unusual to see them on the same cover image. It's a good cover, no doubt about it.
Yeah, most definitely. So in this issue, 1 week earlier in New Mexico, Martha leaves Bruce Wayne a voicemail saying she must disappear for a while. Before she can finish, the Court of Owl abducts her. In Gotham, Batman battles Poison Ivy, who spreads spores across the city and tries to break Bruce mentally. She senses his pain and anger, calling him weak for still caring about others and urging him to join her. In a flashback, Jim Gordon tells Bruce he knows he's Batman. Bruce admits Batman has grown darker than he intended, while Gordon reminds him his good roots will guide him. Back in the present, Barbara Gordon frees Batman as SWAT closes in. Bruce uses a sonic weapon after learning Ivy's human heart still survives inside her monster body. He threatens to destroy it unless she calls back the spores, and she gives in. Even after Ivy surrenders, Bruce destroys the heart anyway, erasing the last trace of Pamela Isley's humanity. Ivy survives and swears revenge. Meanwhile, Martha confronts the Court of Owls, accusing them of becoming cowards. She challenged their leader to kill her if he truly believes in their cause. A gunshot rings out, leaving her fate unknown. So we have our second part of our Poison Ivy story, The Seventh Kingdom, Part 2. Initial thoughts?
Honestly, I think I preferred part 1 better because that was, the first time we got introduced to Poison Ivy. There's a lot more mystery about the character. First time we got to see Eric Canetti's art. So a lot of new approaches there. We had the mystery of the Talons was teased. But this time around, not that there was anything bad about it, but it just didn't seem quite as new as the previous issue.
There are a lot of things, that were teased in that first issue. And one of them is this Court of Owls, which are kind of interesting because they're a little different than our regular DC Universe Court of Owls. Instead of being the rich, and all of them have the main members of the Court of Owls in the regular DC Universe has this white mask in a suit or a dress. Here, they're sort of like, I don't even know if I'd call it a uniform, but it's like they have these long coats and looks like vests, like bulletproof vests with almost like a flannel shirt. Some of them has, at least there on the cover.
Yeah, it's kind of just as Batman and Joker had a role reversal, with Absolute Batman being just a working stiff and Absolute Joker being a billionaire, so too have the Talons been flipped financially. That's an interesting twist. And we haven't seen that with all the Absolute characters. I know, at least certainly the Absolute Lex Luthor over in the Superman book has not seemed to be and displayed any wealth. So that's certainly one theme. I don't know how much of it is intended to be a metaphor or tie into the whole universe of Darkseid energy bit that they've got connecting all of the Absolute titles. But it's still interesting nonetheless to ponder those financial role reversals.
Yeah, for sure. It is interesting. And as I believe we mentioned last episode that Ra's al Ghul, is a Superman villain in the Absolute Universe. And he's been solely in the Superman book and not in the Batman book, which is a change.
Yeah, although it does seem to me that they kind of merged Ra's al Ghul and Vandal Savage. They because both of them are immortal characters in the main DCU, but certainly the appearance of the Ra's al Ghul looks more like Vandal Savage, with the beard and such. So, and he's a corporate leader, whereas Ra's al Ghul usually is not portrayed as a corporate leader. Again, another financial role reversal.
The thing that I wanted to touch on in this book, when I think about Batman, I always think, whether it's regular universe, any of these Elseworld stories, I want to see whether he has his code. Where his code? Because Batman in my head had always been, Batman has this code that he doesn't kill. So this episode for sure, when he went up against Bane The tension looked like that he was trying to eradicate Bane, and Bane survived, but I don't know if that's what Batman intended. But definitely in this issue, Batman's code is out the window.
Right, right. And with Bane, it was almost a survival thing. I mean, if he didn't take down Bane, Bane was going to not only destroy him, but he was going to create havoc and mayhem in Gotham. Now, in this case, Poison Ivy was creating the havoc and mayhem also, but she wasn't personally out to get Bruce. She, Bane wanted to break Bruce. That's what he does in any universe. Poison Ivy, didn't have anything against Bruce to start with, and so the fact that he went that aggressive after her was certainly surprising to me.
Yeah, it definitely was surprising because he not only threatened that he was going to destroy her human heart, because when she sent the spores out into Gotham City to infect everybody, he sort of forced her hand a little bit by saying he was going to destroy the heart. And then he destroys it anyway. And even Barbara Gordon is kind of taken aback a little bit by that.
Yeah, certainly it was a surprise to me. And not to get too real world on us, but it's kind of like when, say, a political figure is in negotiations with another country, and then in the middle of negotiations, they kill the negotiators for the other country. And then they're surprised when nobody wants to negotiate with them anymore.
Yeah, so I have it written down on my notes here. Batman's code, he doesn't have a code. I don't know if he ever had a code this early in his career in this Absolute Batman story. But I'm interested to see if he can redeem himself, if whatever he goes through, he can grow, and that at some point, because he basically, by the end of this issue, he eradicates Bruce Wayne. He's trying to, no more Bruce Wayne, all Batman all the time.
Right. And these scenes of him eradicating Bruce Wayne are kind of interspersed throughout the main story, and presumably flashbacks, but they could be flash forwards. I don't know. But yeah, it was certainly, he not only wanted to eradicate Poison Ivy's heart, then that's symbolic in the way he was eradicating his own heart, which would be the identity of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. And when you have Bruce Wayne, I think that's where, his code comes from, the Bruce part of him. It's sort of like, they had a story not too long ago in Batman where they had the Batman of Zor-and-Ah. It was Batman's backup personality that was all Batman, no Bruce Wayne. Sort of reminds me a little bit of that here. So it'll be interesting, the story going forward. I'm very interested. I think if Poison Ivy shows up again, and I think at some point she has to show up again, she's going to have it in for Bruce, because these two issues, as we said, she's kind of trying to convince Bruce to join her cause.
Right. And it's because Absolute Batman will no longer be moored by Bruce Wayne. It will be pretty surprising or interesting when we learn just how much that actually affects Absolute Batman. It's like in the main DCU, Superman is who he is, not because of his Kryptonian parents, but because of the human parents that raised him. Removing Clark Kent from Superman, is similarly, it really removes a lot of the heart out of the character. And now we're seeing that being happen to Batman in the Absolute universe, and without that anchor, tying him to a regular human persona, who with regular human friends and family, he's going to be unmoored, and he could be, who knows where he will land as this progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite scenes in here is when Gordon confronts Bruce, and we find out that Gordon knows that he's Batman.
Yes, that was surprising. And of course, also in this universe, Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne, or Absolute Batman, are much closer in age. So that's another interesting dynamic there. Although not that there's any romantic tension there. I mean, if you purge Bruce Wayne, then you're probably certainly going to purge any romantic capacity.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think that he's all about his what he needs to do for Gotham and eradicating these villains, or Jack Grimm, who's the Joker in this universe, and Arc M, and what they're doing to people, what they've done to his friends. The one thing I wanted to say about Gordon and Batman here, with Gordon figuring it out, is, in the main universe, it's assumed that Gordon knows that Bruce is Batman, or you can guess, maybe should know, but has never been said. And I'm of the opinion I never want him to admit it, but I was okay with, this is sort of like an Elseworld story. I was okay the way this went down, and I like the advice that he gave him about the roots, and you have good roots, you should be okay.
Right. In the primary DCU, it's going to be a lot easier to tie Batman to Bruce Wayne, simply because of all of the expensive gadgets that Batman uses. And of course, it's public knowledge that Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered in front of him as a child. So you think, oh well, this at the very least, people would naturally think that Bruce Wayne is funding Batman, even if he is not himself Batman. In the absolute universe, however, since Bruce Wayne is more of an ordinary Joe, he's not as unique, and therefore you can't go simply by pocketbook who the most likely candidate to be absolute Batman would be. Although certainly anyone who sees Bruce Wayne and who sees absolute Batman will know that they have similar heights and builds.
Yes, and he's very tall in this. He's
Yes.
6'9". That's humongous. 6'9", 400 pounds. That's humongous.
It is. I mean, I've got a son who's 6'5", and just imagine like another 4 inches on top of that. Yeah.
So the one thing they briefly touch on is Bruce, at one point he tries to see his friends, and then when he's trying to let go of Bruce Wayne, he kind of ignores his friends. And the one panel here, you get Waylon Jones, who has been, it appears it's only in one panel that he's turned back into human form.
Right, which is more like he is in the primary DCU. He's no longer a crocodile that has barely a human brain. Now, at least he's back in human form, although we'll see how much they do with that. I thought what was interesting when Bruce Wayne's friends realized he was no longer coming around to see him, they almost seemed disappointed to me. It's like if somebody has a crush on you and you're not attracted to him, but it's flattering nonetheless, and then all of a sudden they lose interest in you, and now that's the opposite of flattering.
Yeah, most definitely. So, and we talked about the artist here, the guest artist, and that last page where Bruce is standing on this tower with the way his cape is just awesome. It's an awesome panel. He's holding the axe there, and his suit is kind of, the cape always seemed to have a mind of its own. We really haven't gotten anything of how this cape really works. Your thoughts on the cape?
To me, it ties back to Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane, he had a very brief stint on Batman books. He did 3 issues of Batman Year 2, and he did a handful of covers. And of course, he did the Spawn Batman crossover. But when Todd created Spawn, he made it clear that the cape is almost a character unto itself. And I think that has influenced a lot of artists in the way they portray Batman's cape as well. It's not just, a 4 or 5 foot piece of cloth tied to the back of his neck. It's certainly much more, not only useful, I would say, which it really has to be useful. Otherwise, why would you wear it around? But it also, of the way it just seems to behave of its almost its own accord.
Yeah, I would be interested at some point to learn, where he got that cape and how it works exactly. 'Cause sometimes it seems to work by him just thinking about it.
So yeah, is it some neural interface, or is it have a really good bat cape AI, or what?
Who knows? Who knows? That'd be interesting. So, final thoughts here.
This was definitely although it's a transition book, although it's the end of the initial fight with Poison Ivy, it's Bruce transforming from Bruce in a Batman suit to just Batman. And, we see that in the way he cuts his friends off. We see him in the way he literally destroys the heart of Poison Ivy. And he's, done trying to be both roles. That's over now. And he is, absolute Batman. No Bruce Wayne, just absolute Batman.
Yep. And the way he cuts off his mother, because his mother leaves a message for him. And he doesn't listen to it right away. But then at one point, when he decides he's going to go all Batman, he deletes the message and never listens to it.
Right.
And we'll see where this goes in the future. I know we're getting Scarecrow next, which should be interesting.
Yes, it should.
The absolute universe Scarecrow. So that definitely will be interesting.
Yeah, always interesting to see what twists that they're putting on the characters. I can't think of any of the absolute versions where they're like every character seems to have they put thought into twisting it somehow. So it's definitely not the primary character; it's the absolute character.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and we're gonna take a quick podcast promo break.
Come on, Robin. To the Batcave. We haven't one moment to lose.
I'm scaling this wall just as easily as I can walk. My fingers alone are adhering, supporting me.
The Amazing Spider-Man, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, has conquered every medium, from newspaper strips to the silver screen. But he began his life in a pulp periodical destined for cancellation. Let's explore these beginnings together. The Amazing Spider-Man from the very beginning, a brand new podcast on Spotify.
There's some sort of danger here, but what?
Our last book tonight is Detective Comics 1107. Your writer is Tom Taylor. Your artist is Pete Woods. Inker Wayne Foucher. Letterer Wes Abbott. Your cover artist is Mikkel Yanin. Associate editor Jessica Burby. And editor Ben Mears. And we get a cover here with, it says Gotham's New Trinity starts here. You got Batman, Green Arrow, and Black Canary on the cover. What did you think of this cover?
Well, it's certainly interesting to see these three characters together. Back in the day when there was just a handful of members of the Justice League, they had the distinction of being more normal powered. So, and of course, obviously with Black Canary being a part of a team with Green Arrow, it was interesting to they're a triad. Although, as we see in the issue, they may be new to the family, but it's a big family.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Now, my other thought about the cover is it seemed to me that Mikkel Yanin and Pete Woods, their art styles were very similar. I wasn't told that it was two different artists. I might not have ever caught it.
Okay. Didn't throw you off too much in this book and what we had previously. I mean, sometimes you get art and almost like Absolute Batman with that fill-in artist. We weren't really thrown off too much because it did have a similar feel to it. I do like here on the cover, they're all three using either their weapons or Black Canary uses her power. And it's all shown in the art, throwing the batarang, shooting the arrow, but it's showing that it's moving with the art. And I like to see that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's really, some artists are better at conveying movement than others, but Mikel Janin, he did a pretty good job of it in this image.
We open up 1 week earlier when a protected witness dies of apparent natural causes while under FBI protection in Gotham. In the present, Green Arrow stops a corrupt Gotham City police officer beating a dealer and discovers the victim as Batman undercover. Bruce tells Ollie to let the cop go so he can track the cop to the third witness that's tied to the Klepp Corporation. With 2 witnesses already dead, Batman suspects Richard Klepp. Klepp is also targeting Queen Industries, giving Ollie and Black Canary a reason to be in Gotham. Later at Wildcat's gym, Dinah Lance gathers the Bat and Arrow families to honor Ted Grant, who left her the gym. Dinah and Bruce spar, with Dinah clearly getting the better of him. The next morning, Bruce, Dinah, Ollie visit Gotham Cemetery to honor a fallen unnamed ally. They are interrupted by a young girl asking questions about the mystery man buried there. The issue ends when the girl's grandmother and security arrive, nearly causing a fight. After they leave, Bruce returns and says someone may finally know the true identity of their fallen comrade, Pyron. So, we have an all-new story arc here in Detective Comics 1107. Your initial thoughts?
I'm a little surprised that they're bringing Green Arrow and Black Canary into Gotham City. Only a little, because they're certainly popular enough characters that readers want to see them, but apparently not popular enough to sustain their own title. And of course, Green Arrow certainly has a legacy in Detective Comics, having appeared as a backup strip in the book from 82 through 86. And of course, it was Detective Comics where they debuted Black Canary's 1980s, aerobics workout sweatsuit costume. Yeah, it was. And the other part of it, of the story that was interesting, was the whole notion of this mysterious fourth hero. And I don't, since you're much more familiar with Batman and Batman's legacy than I am, have you heard of this character before?
No, I have not heard of this character. It was slightly confusing to me, the ending there, where this girl is asking questions about this person that died, and apparently they train with Wildcat and Black Canary and Bruce, and I'm not quite sure what is going on there. Somebody that knows the identity of this person, but at first I was like, this little girl, is this like a relative or what it is exactly? But she talks about, newspaper clippings and that sort of thing, and the security team and her grandmother seem to be a little protective and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure. The ending kind of threw me off, like, okay, what's going on in there? Who is this person? But I did some research, tried to look up, and this person, apparently this is their first appearance.
Well, sort of appearance, because we don't actually see them; we just see their name and hear about them. So right. Presumably, we'll get some flashback in future installments of the story arc. Yeah, it was just definitely a weird way to introduce a new character. Most characters are not dead when they get introduced.
No, not usually, and this is one that we probably should have knew about, but we don't know anything about. And I guess that's what threw me off a little bit, because all the other stories that Tom Taylor has done in this detective book seem to be pretty much straightforward. This is more of a mystery of what's going on here, tied into this Klepp Corporation that's trying to hide something. A couple witnesses have died. I do like they sort of tied in the last arc, saying, this killer is messed up because he must not have had fear during that time when Gotham's fear was taken away, because he's killed both witnesses the same way.
And since this is Detective Comics, presumably Batman will investigate the cause of death and try to prove both how they died and in such a legal way that it'll hold up in court. It's not
Yes.
as investigators like to say, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
Exactly. No, but it was fun seeing, Batman and Green Arrow's interaction here. I thought that was kind of fun. He actually says how long, him coming to Gotham, and he says, "Oh, it's your city. I don't see your name on it." And it pans back to Bruce, and you see the Wayne building in the background. I thought that was pretty amusing.
That was a pretty good bit, definitely.
Yeah.
I liked, there were a couple bits there that I liked when the remote controlled Batmobile shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Green Arrow, the lefty environmentalist, says, "Nice to see you finally gone electric." It was to me, it was almost comedic. When Green Arrow opens the trunk and we see the crooked cop stuffed in the trunk.
Yep.
Green Arrow is surprised. Not that Batman placed a tracker on the crooked cop, but he placed it in the crooked cop, inside of him. Yes.
How he did that. Unless I was thinking about that. I said maybe these fake drugs he was going to ingest, he and that's how he got the tracker inside.
Yeah, there's any number of ways, certainly in the DC universe, that you could get a tracker inside a person. I don't know how many of them would be plausible in our world, but certainly in the DCU, they could pull it off.
And the Arrow car, that makes an appearance. We haven't seen the Arrow car in forever. Well, you don't really see much of it.
Yeah, I know. I did read the recent Green Arrow series that came out of the Dawn of DC launch, and they certainly didn't really do anything with the Arrow car there.
No. I believe one of the last times was the Brad Meltzer's run. The Arrow car showed up in the Arrow cave, but it looks familiar because in the pictures that I've seen. Have you been reading the recent Justice Society of America series?
Yes, I have.
So we have, it kind of relates to that because Ted Grant died in that series, and he gave this gem to Dinah Lance, and that's another reason for them to be here in Gotham. And we have a picture of the Bat family and the Arrow family and all the different characters there, and then Bruce and Dinah have a boxing match, but this is the weirdest boxing match you'll ever see.
Yes, definitely.
Because no punches were ever thrown.
Yeah, that Cassandra Cain, known as for her ability to read body language, she could tell when a sparring blow would have been an effective blow had it actually made contact.
I didn't even think about that. I had forgotten about that with her. I didn't even when they said it. It was like, what? And then you have this 2-page spread of them fighting without fighting and what punch they would land, who would block, and that sort of thing. I don't even know how you do that, really.
I don't. I mean, I actually, in addition to everything else I do in my life, I also own a martial arts studio. Not that I'm a martial arts expert, but my son is, and it's basically he runs the school. It's just I'm the business manager, and it's in my name. But I certainly have seen my fair share of sparring. By seeing, I mean watched, not participated in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is. If you're truly good at it, like black belt level, and been doing it for a couple decades, you definitely know how to put on a good sparring exhibition. It's really all it is exhibition, because I can't imagine that, any type of sparring would be exactly the same as if you were actually trying to make contact. I mean, for one thing, if you are actually making contact, there's always the option to, like, for the other person to use that contact against you, you throw a punch, they block the punch, but now since you're close enough to punch them, now they're close enough to punch you, that kind of thing. And that wouldn't be an issue in sparring. Yeah, we recently I had that Black Canary Best of the Best miniseries, and so that certainly showcased both Black Canary's fighting ability against Lady Shiva, but also her connections to Ted Grant. So anyone who read that story shouldn't be surprised that Ted chose to leave his gym to her when he passed. And it certainly, to me, it's always sad when characters named Ted die.
Oh, I would imagine. So now Bruce, as you said, Bruce ends up losing this match, and we get a little details of how they used to train together, especially when they mention this Prion, that he was part of their little training group, and it'll be interesting to get a little bit more backstory of that. I wouldn't say this is my favorite issue in Tom Taylor's run, but it's intriguing. There are a lot of intriguing things in here. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Definitely. Both books were good. If I had to pick one that I preferred, it would have, as I mentioned about the Absolute Batman, I like the beginning of the story better than the end. And similarly, we have the beginning of a story here. So I kind of like all the new elements they're introducing, and I'm eager to see where it goes.
Yeah, and it's always fun seeing, other DC Universe characters venture to Gotham. I always think that's fun to see them in a Batman book.
Right. And while we certainly have seen Black Canary interact with some of the female members of the Batman family, but not all of them have interacted with Green Arrow. So it'll be interesting to see how he works with Red Hood and Cassandra Cain and others.
Most definitely. Well, that's our episode for tonight. Some good books this month. We'll be back for our next Gotham Currents episode. Is continuing with Detective Comics. Absolute Batman number 18 has Scarecrow in it. Do you have have you seen pictures of what Scarecrow looks like, or anything like that?
I have not. I get my comics, since I live in the rural area, I get them at the shipment at the end of the month. So I will have seen it in a couple days when that box arrives.
I haven't seen it either, but a guy I work with said, "Oh, have you seen Scarecrow?" And I said, no spoilers. I said, I'm doing an episode with 18, and then I can venture on to that when I get it. He said, "Oh, he looks good. So we will see. That'll be interesting."
Yes, it will.
For sure. So until next time, same bat time, same bat channel. We will see you later.